Arthur's camp out. It was a spring vacation. Mother and father were away. The babysitter was sweeping the porch. Violet was in the yard picking dandelions. Arthur was lying on the grass. "Come look at this bug," said Violet. "It looks like a twig." "It's a working stick," said Arthur. "We studied them in science." Arthur yawned and rolled over. "I wish I had something to do." "I will tell you what you can do," called the babysitter. "You can clean up the yard." "That's nothing to do," said Arthur. "Yes, it is," said the babysitter. "You can pick up all the broken branches and twigs." "But not my working stick twig," said Violet. "He will not know the difference," said Arthur. "He might," said Violet. "No, he won't," said Arthur. "You never studied science, so you don't know." "Yes, I did," said Violet. "My teacher put some cocoons in glass jars. After a while, moths came out." "That's baby science," said Arthur. "I mean real science, like going on field trips and collecting specimens." "How about collecting some trash specimens?" said the babysitter. She gave Arthur a big trash bag. "Phooey," said Arthur. "Why can't I do something fun?" Arthur started to clean up the yard. He picked up the branches and twigs. He picked up the old gum wrapper. He picked up a Cracker Jack box. Inside the box was a big black ant. It was carrying a piece of a Cracker Jack. "Look, Violet," said Arthur. "Here is a worker ant, just like we studied in science." Violet looked at the ant. "I thought you studied specimens," she said. "An ant is a specimen," said Arthur. "Our class goes on field trip to collect them." "Oh boy, I just got a great idea. I am going to do something fun. I am going to go on a field trip." "Can I come too?" asked Violet. "No," said Arthur. "I want to collect frogs and worms and snakes, slimy things that you would not like." "A girl in my class brought in a snake she caught," said Violet. "It wasn't a bit slimy. I held it in my hand." "You did?" asked Arthur. "Yes," said Violet. "Okay," said Arthur. "You can come on the field trip. Go get some glass jars with the lids." Chapter 2. Wilma and her big sister Mabel came down the road. They had knapsacks and blanket rolls on their backs. Wilma's knapsack had pots and pans tied to it. Mabel's knapsack had water jugs tied to it. "Where are you going with all that stuff?" asked Arthur. "We're going on a camp out," said Wilma. "We came to ask Violet to come with us," said Mabel. "Violet is going on a field trip with me," said Arthur. "When I was young, I used to go on field trips," said Mabel. "They are okay, but camping out is more fun." Just then, Violet came out with the glass jars. "We are going on a camp out in the woods behind your house," said Mabel. "We are going to build a fire and cook hot dogs and toast marshmallows and tell ghost stories and sing songs. Do you want to come?" "Can Arthur come too?" asked Violet. "Arthur is going on a field trip," said Mabel. "Aren't you, Arthur?" "Oh, I don't know," said Arthur. "Maybe I should go on your camp out. Then I could protect you in the woods at night." "Huh," said Mabel. "I am in charge of this camp out. I don't need anyone to protect me. You're not even old enough to build a campfire." "Come on, Violet, go get your knapsack and a blanket roll. We will have lots of fun without Arthur." "Who wants to go on a camp out with a bunch of girls?" said Arthur. "I'm going on a field trip to collect the specimens, and maybe I will camp out overnight all by myself." Chapter 3. Arthur packed his pajamas and his toothbrush. He packed glass jars for specimens. Then he went to the kitchen for food. My goodness, said the babysitter. The woods behind the house will be full of campers tonight. Here are 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, a banana, an orange, and a thermos of milk, she said. Come home if you get lonely. I'm not afraid of being alone in the woods, said Arthur. Arthur went out to yard. He climbed over the stone wall and followed the path into the woods. After a while, he came to a brook. Kerplash! A frog jumped into the brook. Oh boy, my first specimen, said Arthur. The frog hopped onto a stone. Arthur hopped after the frog. The stone was slippery, and Arthur slipped splash right into the water. The frog hopped away. Phooey, said Arthur. He climbed out of the brook. His clothes were wet. His knapsack was wet, and his blanket roll was wet. It was getting dark, and he tripped over the roots of a tree. I wish I had a flashlight, said Arthur. Then he saw a little glimmer, and another and another. Lightning bugs, cried Arthur. I will use them for light. He took out his glass jar and tried to catch one. It flew into a briar bush. Arthur dove in after it. Thorns tore his clothes, and prickles pricked his fingers. Yow! Yelled Arthur, and he dropped the jar. He dug around under the bush till he felt something round and smooth. I found it, cried Arthur, and he pulled it up. Hiss! A snake, yelled Arthur. He dropped the snake and ran. Low-hanging branches slapped at Arthur's face. Vines tangled in the straps of his knapsack. Arthur pulled off his knapsack. He held it in front of his face so he could run faster. Suddenly he heard a whoosh. Who's there? Called Arthur. Something swooped low over his head. Something zoomed past his nose. Then something squeaked near his ear. Bats! Yelled Arthur. He dropped his knapsack and ran as fast as he could. Chapter 4. After a while, Arthur stopped to catch his breath. It was very quiet. A pond shimmered in the moonlight. Arthur sat down at the edge of the pond. He was tired, he was wet, and he was hungry. This is a good place to camp, said Arthur, but now I don't have anything to camp with. I wish I had something to eat, he said. Maybe if I go to sleep, I want to know I'm hungry. Arthur made a little nest in some dry leaves. He was just nodding off when a mosquito buzzed near his ear. Arthur slapped at the mosquito. Another one bit him on the nose. Then another mosquito bit his foot, and another stung his hand. It's my wet clothes, said Arthur. If I cover myself with the leaves, they will not come after me. Arthur covered himself with the leaves. Now all the mosquitoes buzzed around his head. Arthur tried to drive them off by twitching his nose. Phooey, yelled Arthur. He got up and hopped around, slapping at the mosquitoes. Suddenly he stopped and sniffed. Hot dogs, said Arthur. I smell hot dogs. Arthur closed his eyes and sniffed some more. Oh, I'm so hungry. Arthur's stomach started to grumble. It grumbled so loudly he could hardly hear the singing that drifted across the pond. It's the girls at their camp out, said Arthur. Maybe I can sneak up and find the part of a hot dog someone dropped. Arthur ran around to the other side of the pond. Arthur snuck up to the girls. He crouched down in the shadows. The girls were sitting around the campfire. They were roasting the hot dogs and singing. Here comes Mr. Fuzzy Bat, you buzzy insect, better scared. Bats fly low and bats fly high, flitting through the nighttime sky. Arthur stomach grumbled. What was that? Asked Wilma. Arthur stumbled out of the shadow. Bats, he cried. Why are you singing about bats? A whole bunch of bats came after me and tried to bite me, and I lost my knapsack and all my camping stuff, and I don't have anything to eat, and I'm hungry." "My goodness, Arthur," said Mabel, "you do look like something came after you." "It could not be bats," said Violet. "Bats don't hurt you. Bats are good. Bats eat insects like mosquitoes, and they spread the pollen so more flowers will grow." "How do you know?" asked Arthur. "We learned about them in science," said Violet, and she gave Arthur a hot dog. Arthur and the girls toasted the marshmallows and sang songs. Then they went to sleep. Arthur dreamed about bats, thin and fat bats, small and tall bats. They were all friendly. In the morning, Arthur said, "I dreamed about bats. They told me where to find my knapsack." Arthur did find the hidden knapsack. It was where the bats said it would be. When the campers came home, there was a big sign over the porch that said, "Welcome home, campers." The babysitter made stacks of pancakes with lots of syrup for breakfast. Arthur and Violet and Wilma and Mabel sat on the porch under the sign and ate them all up. The end.